This conference will now be recorded.
No, Rekha.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I'm able to hear you, Rekha.
Okay. Is my screen visible to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was saying that in last session we were discussing about
Yes.
discussing on these SCD types. SCD type 1 is to maintain a complete history, current data. Type 2 is to maintain complete history, and type 3 is to maintain a partial history. Just one level of information previous to what can be maintained. Clear? Any queries on that topic?
No, Rekha. It's clear.
Right? Okay. Now we'll see. In database, all the informations are stored in the form of a tables, and each of the tables are getting related by using a relationship with foreign key and primary key. And when these tables are structured based on the business requirement in data warehouse, the database is designed either it can be of a star schema or it can be of dimension schema. Now, whatever schema it is, or in case of a normal RDBMS, the relationship between the tables exists in some different form of a cardinality. So you need to know what is cardinality here. Entity relationship model. In entity relationship model, an entity is nothing but a table. We have already seen it, right? So the other name for table is an entity. The other name for columns are attributes.
Okay.
Other name for columns inside the tables are called attributes. Relationship is nothing but the entity relationship, how it get interrelated among themselves. Okay, there are different types of relations. When it is getting related to one or more than one table, then it falls under 4 different types of relationship: one to one to many to one, and many to many. This is the concept of normal RDBMS, normal database, not the warehouse. Just to understand the concepts, I'm just giving you an idea on it. So there are 4 different relationship types: one to many to one, and many to many. Here, so now we'll see one by one. One to one, meaning I have multiple tables. One table is related to another table. It's just one-on-one relationship. For example, a person is holding a passport. How many person can hold how many passport? Passport
One.
is individually provided for one particular person. So it is relationship between one passport and a one person. Right, one-to-one relation. When a single instance of an entity is associated with a single instance of another entity, then it is called one-to-one relationship. Instance is nothing but the attribute inside it, how it is getting related to the other, or the table, how it is getting related to the other. Okay, a person has only one passport and the passport is given to only one person. This is one-to-one relation. Clear? Can you give me any other one-on-one relationship sample?
One-on-one. Single instance.
Mobile number. Can take mobile number. A person can have one single contact number for him. One contact detail is shared to one person only. It is not shared to multiple persons. One to one. Now we'll go on to next content is one to many. One to many. A single instance of an entity is associated with more than one instance of another entity, then it is called a one to many relationship. That is, one particular thing is related to multiple other things. A customer can place many orders. Right? I am placing multiple orders in a particular shop. Yes, I can do it. One customer placing multiple orders. One order can be placed by multiple customers. I mean, that particular order, you may have a number of things. Now I am trying to do multiple orders. Okay, so one customer, multiple products. I'm just ordering. And this is one to many.
Okay.
Similarly, any other sample? One student can go ahead and have multiple courses. One to many. One to many. These are all some samples of one to many. Now, many to one. When more than one instance of an entity is associated with a single instance of another entity. That is, multiple instance of an entity is associated with single instance of an entity. Single instance of another entity, then it is called many to one. Student, many students will be there in a college. Right? Many students may not go to many colleges at the same time.
Yeah.
Many students can study in a single college, but the student cannot study in many colleges at the same time. Many to one. Many students in one college. Many to one. Many to many. Many to many sample. Many students are assigned with multiple projects. Multiple students assigned with multiple projects. Multiple students going through multiple courses. Right? Multiple. So this is what many to many. So if someone asks you how are these relationships among the table exist, by seeing that particular table design structure, we will come to know, okay, all the tables are connected multiple, many to many, or many to one. For example, I'm saying I have multiple source files, and all my source files, the first level of loading is a stage load. What do we do in the staging area? We will try to clean the data. We will try to bring all the data in the same structural format, wherein you can use the data in the next stages or next level. Right? So staging area is a cleansing area. Whatever I have in the source, I exactly should have it in my staging, but it is a clear form of a data. If I have 10 different files, I have 10 different staging files also. In this case, what is the relationship between the source and the staging area?
Can you ask me again?
I have 10 different source files. Each file, in order to clean the data or in order to cross verify whether the data quality is fine or not, I will just cross check, and I will, whatever there in the source, I am just placing in the staging area. If I have 10 files in my staging, I have 10 different tables or files in my staging area. If I have 100 files, I have 100 tables in my staging area. I'll tell you how we are loading and staging in different part. 100 tables or 100 targets in my staging area available. So if I have 100 in a source, I have 100 in my staging. It means whatever there is in source is getting reflected in the staging area by cleansing the data. Now, is this having multiple relationship or it is having one-on-one relationship?
100 one-on-one?
One-on-one. Why? Because I said whatever I have in the source, I have it in a staging. If I have 100 files, I have 100 tables in my staging staging area. So my entity, my cardinality between the source to staging area is 1 to 1. If someone says it has this loading faces has one-to-one relation, then you should think, okay, there is no interrelation between the table. It is just whatever there, they just loaded into the another table. Getting. If someone says in the next level after staging we have one-to-many relation, then you can understand, okay, from here one table is getting linked with multiple other tables, or many table linked to many other table, many to many. So if someone says it is having one-to-one relation, it is having one-to-many, many to many, then now I hope you got it. It is about the linkage of a table, how it got stored or it got maintained. Clear? Now I have customer table, I have account table, I have multiple accounts tables, I have one customer table. Customer is linked with multiple accounts. Customer is linked with different customer account tables. Similarly, one account can be shared by multiple customers. Right? One account can be shared by multiple customers, meaning they have a joint account. So that is one-to-many relationship. One account can be shared by multiple customers if they have a joint account. Or else if they are having individual account, one account and one customer. Okay, so that is how the cardinality works. Right? 4 types: one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, many-to-many. Simple. So with this, the basic concepts is done for data warehousing, and apart from this, there is nothing much required. So now the basic key terms that you should know as of now is what is data warehouse, why we need data warehouse, purpose of data warehouse, characteristics, features of data warehouse, what is called OLTP and OLAP, what are the ETL tools available, and after ETL, the reporting process, what it does. And we have seen the star schema and snowflake schema, some different dimensions like junk and what's other dimension type we have seen? Junk dimension and confirm dimension, and SCD types. This is more than enough. We'll move on with this. The concept is done. You please go through the concept. If at all anything is needed, I will be highlighting it. Nothing to worry. And now moving on to
Rekha, I got a project. Can I talk about that one?
Yeah, sure. So before starting to data stage concepts and data stage tool, yes, we can go ahead with that. No issues.
Okay. 1 second. There is a NASM project. It is having online store where customers can purchase the courses, and also they sell certification exams.
Okay.
Actually, the NASM sells online courses for fitness trainers, and they help them to certify. This is the project.
Okay, fine.
What do you, Rekha, about this project?
Yeah, this is okay, but is it specifically meant to operate in a specific country, or it's across a globe?
Oh, then the name you're asking?
No, not the name. Tell me the project name once.
NASM. NASM.
That's okay, fine. Why I asked this question is if it is only specific to the country, your data volume will be less. If it is across the globe, yes, of course, the data volume will be high. And being in a warehouse, our data volume should be high. So here, what happens is, on daily basis, some persons can take certifications. They will purchase the product. They will go for a certification, and some persons will go for a online training courses, wherein it keeps adding the data on daily basis. It's all based on the fitness program, right? So you can have this, not an issue, and we can say this is to have a historical information, all that. And this, the end user is who is the end user for this? This project is for whom?
Fitness trainers.
Fitness trainers. So maybe after the ETL loading, we can tell you had a. These questions will not come, but suppose on a worst scenario, we should also think after our ETL loading, who is going to acquire our data and in which form they are going to present the data. Okay. For example, if it is a customer care support, you can say the end user will hit the account ID or customer ID in the front end screen so that it will display all the details. Likewise, here, whether we are going to inform them that the end users are going to use a screen, it also goes to customer care, right? So obviously, if there is some particular trainer program or training program is happening, there exists a customer care support, there exists a report generation. So we can frame it in a way that this project is used by the organization wherein they wanted to support the customer care for which the data is taken from our ETL database to publish it in a HTTP screen. Also, it is used to generate it in the form of a reports for whenever it is required. Maybe on weekly basis the report generation is done, or however we want, we can able to change it. Fine, we can hold this project as one. What is the other project?
This is the one I have, Rekha. So I told
We
you.
need to find out the other project.
Yeah.
Okay, do one thing. After this session, send me this project. We'll append this project in maybe the previous project and the current project we may need to look at. Or if the other one is having less weightage than this, then this becomes the first, and whatever we are getting the next is the second project.
Oh.
Okay, just append the project content in your CV and share it to me.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't get time yesterday for searching into the other project. I will also try to grab any of the project description. If it suits and finds well, then we'll finalize it tomorrow. It's already 4. I think you need to submit it, and I have to go ahead with some.
Yeah, the other one. Hey, Rekha.
Yeah, hi. Yeah.
Hey. Yeah, the other project, what I was thinking is probably might have not explained. So we can take another online store, and what I'm thinking is we can use a CRM. I'm not sure if you heard about the CRM, right? Like, yeah, a standard CRM, and we can like I given 2 use cases. One is migrating from one online store to another online store, kind of a redesign of the online store. They had to import the order information from the existing system to the new system. That's the one project I explained here. The other one is like, moving the data from online store to CRM. That's the one option. The other option is we can use the CRM data pushing to the Great Plains, which is like a ERP system. That's also another option. Basically, it's kind of very easy to explain, right? That's what I think, because I worked in
we can say that migrating data into the ERP system, but the ERP system will take data from our database, which is a target as a data warehouse. I don't mind in generating it in a form of a report, but my target becomes a source for the other system. That's how we need to end up.
Sorry, what was that? So ERP is the you are saying ERP is the source, and then the CRM is the this one?
No, you just come again now. You're going to deliver the data to CRM or from CRM to ERP?
From CRM to ERP system, the Great Plains.
When you say just give me some information, like when you say from source to CRM, then what kind of data that we use to get it from them? Like it can be in the form of a DB, or they'll be generating in the form of files. Any idea about it?
Yeah, typically it will be in the database.
Database only. So there is no point of getting a data from files.
Files. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The problem is, I think they are asking if, I mean, I thought we kept like a file system, right?
No, it need not to be mandatory to that the source should be only from this file end. If we are fine enough that this system is going to deliver data in the form of a database, yes, I will use my ETL tool to pull the data from database and will
Correct.
do my ETL process. So that's not an issue. Just to understand that it will be in a form of a database, then yes, we should stick to that line that yeah, we used to get data in the form of a database. Every day their database gets refreshed, and from there we used to query and pull the data whatever we want, and we do the process at our end. So
Yeah,
that's
the
how we
only
need to frame.
the only challenge is these are Microsoft technology. So we should not be using the dynamic CRM. I think we need to use like a homegrown CRM kind of ERP system, not homegrown ERP system, so that we can use any technology. Otherwise, it becomes technology specific, right?
That's what. So we need to think about all those factors.
Yeah. Okay, I will come up with like a generic one rather than specifying. We can say like there is a custom homegrown CRM system, and there is a custom, they want to build a custom ERP system. So they want to do the data migration between these two systems. So we want to build ETL tool to migrate the order or the customer information between the two systems. That's how I want to build it.
Okay.
Financial data.
Okay,
Basically, the ERP wants the financial data, so we can send all the or the financial and the customer information to the ERP system.
Got it. So let's take one more day, not more than that. Maybe tomorrow we will finalize it. We'll end up with some projects, and we'll move on into the next some tests that you are saying, right? You need to
We need to take that, like we need to take that one that is coming too close, right? So yeah, it's
right,
very
that's what.
that one. Yeah, that's the most important thing for me right now.
Yeah, so we'll do that. For that only tomorrow we'll finalize the CV, and then we'll try to proceed with that maybe day after.
Sure, Rekha. Okay, you want Usha to write up the first project, and also you want to give the second project and share it with you, or what are your thoughts?
No problem if she even doesn't share, because we need to find out the second project. We'll find out, we'll frame it, or else just share the first one. What is there? Just an email attach the first one. We'll see to it. I will try to add the second. If not from your end, whatever you are saying, we'll take it.
Sure, Rekha. So I will try to add the first one today after your call, and then I will share it sometime later today.
Sure. No issues.
Okay, Rekha. Sorry, I don't want to take your time. Okay, please continue with Usha.
Usha, yeah. So Usha, this is all about concepts of warehouse that we have seen. Now we'll be moving specific to the tool level, which is the data stage tool, the actual part of this course. Okay. So data stage. So what do you mean by data stage as of now? What at all you get into your mind when you heard about data stage? Just give some idea about it.
Data stage, where in staging area we will be.
No, not going in depth of it. What is data stage?
Data stage. It is a ETL tool.
It is a ETL tool. What is ETL tool?
What is a ETL tool?
What is ETL stands for?
ETL stands for extract, transformation, and load.
And loading, right? So data stage is a ETL tool used for extraction, transformation, and to load the data into the data warehouse system. Okay, so this is one of the ETL tools available in the market. The other tools are Informatica, Ab Initio. We have Talent, and we have so many other tools. Even with the normal PL SQL, you can do all the extraction, transformation, and loading, but it becomes more complex. That's why in the market, they started delivering the ready-made tools where you can go ahead and implement your logics and bring the data over you want. Okay, and this data stage is a product from IBM. So who's the owner of this data stage tool? IBM is the owner of this data stage tool. And prior to IBM, it was with Essential. It was called as Essential Data Stage, but then later in 2002 or 2005, something around the time, IBM has acquired it, and they took this tool and they did some level of improvement on the tool for each and every version. So it's like we do have multiple versions in data stage, as starting from 7x, and then 8, 8.1, 8.3, 8.5, 8.11, and then 9 version came in, 10 version came in, and now the current version that exists in market is 11.7. So the previous version of 11.7 is 11.3. 11.3 and to 11.7, there is no much difference. Some sort of new plugins, that is, if some technology they wanted to use data stage, by using some of the stages, they will few enhancements they will be adding into it, which will obviously increase the advantage of the tool, and it becomes more stronger than the previous version. So if you are with any of the previous version also, you can cope up with the latest version, because the architecture drastically changed when it comes to 8 version itself. So from 8 version, the architecture doesn't change much, but inside the tool, some of the components are getting added one after the another version. So the latest version is 11.7. The immediate previous version is 11.5. Someone asks you which version that you used, you can tell it's 11.7, and maybe your previous project with 11.5.
Okay.
Okay. So this data stage architecture, so it is a 3-tier architecture. What is a 3-tier architecture? Means you will have a server tier, a service tier, engine tier, and the repository tier. What is a repository in general? Repository is nothing but a storage space where whatever details that you do in that particular tool, everything is getting stored in a storage space, which is called a repository. Repository is typically a database again. In case of data stage, the repository is made up of DB2 database, right? So the repository is made up of DB2 database in case of data stage. So the moment when I say it's a DB2 database, you no need to learn DB2 immediately and all. It's just DB2 on its own is built with a database called DB2 database. So whatever details you do or whatever a project you do in a data stage, everything is getting stored in that database. We are not going to query or check the DB2 data over there, as this is a GUI component, that is the user interface, graphical user interface tool, where it allows you, the look and feel is very simple, dragging and dropping concepts. Unlike C++, Java, Visual Basic, you don't need to write multiple lines of coding here, not required. It's just you drag a tool, component, you place it in your work area, you connect it. It's kind of very simple, and you feel much interesting when comparing to other tools. That's why data warehousing tools are somewhat simpler and easier than any of the coding technologies. Right? You don't need to write n number of lines in your coding program like how C++ or a Java developer does. It is very simple. Okay, but you should be very well. You should be wise enough to use the tool effectively. What to use, when to use, how to use. That is what you need to understand in this particular training session. Okay.
Yeah.
So this tool is a 3-tier architecture tool, which will have service tier, engine tier, and the repository tier. In this, I just explained the repository. Repository is made up of a database in case of data stage. The moment when you install data stage on your machine, at that time, DB2 by default will get installed, because only on top of DB2, this database repository will be connected to the data stage. So these all comes into the installation phase. Again, I'm saying to perform installation, to do some sort of admin activities, developers are not allowed. So who is the person responsible to do data stage installation? You will have a separate person called data stage admin. Okay, all the admin activities like creating a user, creating a project, installing the tool, providing some sort of authorization to all the users, everything was taken care by admin. Admin is separate person who also works with the data stage, but his roles and responsibilities totally different from the developer or the person who works in a development project. We are into development, but yes, I will also give you some shades of admin, what he will be doing and how those are linked to our developer or the data stage 2. Okay. We work with the client components. There are some set of client components and server components in the data stage. On the server components, we will not work because server components are installed on the Unix system and it is a backend process. The front end on which you are going to work is called as a client component of a data stage. And there are set of client components. We'll see to those client components in further session. So data stage has two set of components. One is client component, another is a server component. Server components are nothing but the back end, and client components are the front end of the data stage. We will connect and work with the front end tool that gets automatically linked with the back end server component. The moment when you provide execute command from the front end, it gets connected to the back end, it sends a request and the execution will take place. So data stage has in data stage, everything we call it as a job. So what is a job? A job is nothing but a pictorial representation of a data flow. I'll tell you this. So job is, for example, we have already seen the ETL process. Okay, so we do extract, we do some transformation, and we load the data from year to year. What is the process called? ETL process, right? Inside the data stage tool, you have a source, you have a target, you do some transformation logic, you link all these together from the source till the end. It is called as a job. Job. So what is a job? Job is a graphical representation. That is, if you look like an image, then you will just pull the image, you will connect the image, and you will do some properties for each of the component, whatever you placed in the work area.
Rekha, your voice is a little bit low. Can you?
Okay. Is it okay now?
Yeah, now.
Okay. So ETL is a process. It is here. It is called as a job. Job is nothing but from the source how the data is moving till the target. Okay. So job is a graphical representation of source to the target. However, the data is flowing. The basic data stage architecture diagram is this. I've just simplified it. I don't want to complicate it because I know being a developer, you just wanted to know how it works. You need not to completely understand or completely know what is the end-to-end architecture of a data stage. That is not required. This is more than enough. If you see, there is a service tier, engine tier, and repository tier. This box, right? This indicates the three-tier architecture, wherein this will be in your back end, and in your front end you will have a client tier. So the client tier is a user will get into the data stage tool and they will be working on it. So what happens is, in the client tier we have set of components available again. So in the client tier we do have different client components of data stage, like data stage designer, data stage administrator, data stage director. These are some of the client components of data stage, on top of which we will connect and we will work on it. I'll show you all this. Okay. Whereas you do have this service tier, repository, and engine tier. This will have interlinkage among themselves, and this is connected to the client tier, so that when you send any request on the client tier, it will reach to the service tier, and then it will get executed on the engine tier, and all this whatever you do will get saved in the repository tier. Repository or a repository, a central store that contains all the information related to data warehouse, whatever you do in data stage. Okay. The information server suite, we have you have another information server tool suite that is actually it has a 4 components in the client tier, service tier, engine tier, and repository tier. So all these 4 components are called as information server suite. Okay, in general. This client tier is one which you can install in one or many servers. See, I am entering into a project. Data stage is installed in a server, and that will be on a Linux machine, Unix machine. Okay, so data stage is always installed on top of Unix operating system, not on the Windows operating system. Okay, but the client components can be installed on the Windows system, and since in the same server multiple client components will be installed, because you are not the only person who will work in this project, there will be n number of persons in your team who connects to the same server, same data stage. Right, each one will have their own laptops. In each of a laptop, the client component will be installed, and each one will have a connectivity where they will get connected to the server that exists on the Unix machine. And able to understand? See,
No.
on top of Unix, data stage will be installed. And data stage has 2 main parts: server, service tier, and the client tier. The service tier will get installed on the Unix machine, and the client tier will get installed on your laptop front end. Front end will be a Windows most probably, because we'll be using a VPN kind of a technology. Okay, desktops it is called it. So in your desktop, you should have a data stage tool to connect and to work, right? So the tool which you will see will be a client components that get installed in your laptop. Not only to you, if suppose I am the second person who works in your team, I also hold my own laptop. Even in my laptop, I should have a data stage connectivity. So in my laptop also client component will be installed. If there are 10 persons in your project, all the 10 team members' laptop will be installed on with the client components, and each of these 10 client components will get connected to the single server component which is on the Unix box. That's why whichever operation each of us do in the client component will get stored on the same server. Server component will be one client component. Client, see, it's very simple. Installation should be there in the data stage. Only then you can able to work on data stage 2. Who will do this installation part?
Admin.
Admin will do the installation part. So he need not to install the tool every time. Instead, he will install data stage only once on the Unix box, and he will give the connectivity via client components to the multiple laptops. All the users will be connecting to data stage via client components. Client components are the one which we are going to work. I'll show you what are the client components. Okay. So now just understand that this is a 3-tier architecture. We do have service tier, engine tier, and metadata repository tier. And client tier. Client tier is the one which we will interact with the backend service tier or engine tier, repository tier. All these falls in a backend. Okay. So now the client tier is the one which allows us to connect to the local, to our local to the server. Our local is nothing but the laptop. To connect to the server, we need a client tier. Is clear somewhat?
No, Rika.
Somewhat. Wait. Okay. So as of now, what you understood, we will be working on client components. Client components are nothing but a data stage tool that you see in your laptop. But it gets connected at the backend to the server. The backend things you will not be seeing because it has a connectivity to the server, and on the server is on the is with the Unix box. With that box on the data stage got installed. Okay. See, somewhere the data stage got installed, and you are trying to utilize your data stage tool from n number of laptops. This is what the concept.
Yeah.
The 2 different components installed in C. You have to do engine mapping. See, between that's what these things you will not understand because it's part of an admin, and I don't want to give too much of confusion on this installation because you will never do installation.
Okay.
You will never get a chance to do installation because that will be done by an admin team. You will be given with a laptop having the data stage client component and that client component is the one which you can see as a client area. You will work on this, but whatever operation you do, right, that request will be sent to the server, and after execution, that response will be given back to the client. You should also see the response level, right? So you will get all those things. Okay, make it simple. When the job gets executed, the engine tier will send the job executable information to the service tier. When I am trying to execute a job from the client tier, the engine tier will send job executable information to the service tier. The engine will interact with the service, and in turn, this will get stored in the repository. And then from all this, you will get a response to the client tier. Okay. Fine. So just to understand what is more than enough. Data stage client components. This plays from here. It plays a very important role as a developer, where you will be working on a data stage client component. You do have administrator, designer, and director. These are the three important client components that we work with. Design administrator, as the name indicates, this is mostly used by data stage admin, but still I'll show you what all the things apart from installation. So what are the things that administrator tool can do is, see, if you want to create the ETL process, it is not one single job which we are going to create. We will have multiple jobs. If you want to create a job, you need to get into a project, right? So project is a place which will allow you to design multiple jobs in it. Okay, so you will have multiple jobs in a project. So first thing is you should create a project. So by using admin tool, you can create a project, and you can create different users. Users means now I have 5 members in my project. Each user will have their own user ID, user login credentials. It's a login credential to enter into a data stage. You will have your own ID and password. I will have my own ID and password. The other person will have their own ID and password. So each one, how many of them wanted to use this particular project or use this particular component? If you want to create a new user, yes, go ahead and create a new user under the administrator client component. Fine. Administrator is a tool which allows you to create a project and to create a user. Also, once the user is created, there can be multiple projects in data stage server. Which project I can able to access? Maybe I may have access to 5 different projects. You may have access to 3 different projects alone. The other person may have access to 1 project alone. So you can able to allow access, specific access to the specific projects to the respective user. It is not that when a user is created, he can able to access all the projects. No, when a user is created, he should be assigned access to specific projects. Right? I will show all this in practical from tomorrow. It is not going to be a theoretical session. It is going to be a practical session, how we are going to create a project, how we are going to set the project properties, users, all those things. We'll be seeing it in how in a data stage 2. Okay. Assigning a user to the project and setting properties to the project and user. You should set project properties. You can have a project with some specific properties level that you can able to set it on administrator. And if you wanted to remove the project, which is nothing but deletion of a project, can be done by using administrator. So what are the purpose of an admin tool here? You can create a project, you can create a user, you can provide access to the user, you can set the project properties, and you can remove the project. These are the main characteristic features of administrator client component. Okay, similarly, we have another tool called designer. So this plays an important role in a developer because we are going to design data stage jobs. Whatever we do is called I designed this job. Instead of I developed this, I created this job, we can say I developed this job or I designed this job. Okay, designer, as the name indicates, this component will allow the user to design multiple jobs, to design multiple jobs in a project, right? It's like if you are entering into a college, you will have a particular course, and in that course and in a class, multiple students will be there. Similarly, in this project, multiple jobs will be there. In another project, another set of jobs will be there. In another, and one more project is there. Those jobs are different from the other project jobs. Okay, you can have multiple projects, and each project will have its own jobs in it. All these jobs and projects are stored where inside data stage, where it gets stored.
Project, can you tell me again?
All projects and all jobs, whatever you are designing, will get stored in a repository.
Okay.
Whatever you do in data stage, everything gets stored on repository, and that repository is made up of DB2. All these DB2 functionalities and the data stage are related, or linkage are given during the time of installation. You just need to understand, okay, whatever we do will get stored in a repository. Repository is made up of what? It is made up of a database, and that too it is specific to DB2 database. Why DB2 database? Because DB2 is a product from IBM, and DataStage is also a product from IBM. So instead of using some other database, they just used DB2 as their database to hold this repository. Nothing much. So now this designer is used to design or to develop the job. When you suppose you're creating a data in a file, once you created content of the file, you will save that file, only then you can reuse the file, right? Similarly, when you develop a job, you need to save the job. Once you save the job will remain as such until you delete the job. Okay. If you want to execute the job, the execution here is also called as a run the job. When I say run the job, it means you go ahead and execute the job. Before running the job, you need to compile a job. Compilation is mandatory here. Before compiling, you cannot run the job. So compilation, what it will do is it will cross-check whether all the connectivity details and properties are set in that particular job. If something is missed out, it will highlight the user that there is a compilation error. You did not set property to this particular stage, or this particular space you didn't give some proper value. Something it will hit with the information that compilation error. So you need to fix that error. Only then the compilation will be successful. Only if the job is compiled, then you can go and run the job. So design the job, save the job, compile the job, run the job, and to set the job properties. You are designing a job, the job may have multiple properties. If you want to go ahead and set the job properties, this designer component is used. And import and export the job. So export and import is nothing but I have my job in project 1. I have project 5, another project. If I want to bring the project 1 job to project 5, you export the job and you import it in project 5. So from one place to another place, if you want to move the code, then we will do export and import. All these functionalities can be done by using a designer. Designer client component is used to design or to develop a job, to save the job, to compile the job, to run the job, to set job properties, and to import and export the job. Clear?
Clear. Okay.
These are the steps that we will do with a designer. Now, director is one of the other client components, which is used to see. I'm just triggering the job. I executed the job. The job may fail, or it may go to success mode. I just want to understand whether my job ran successfully or it got aborted. Here, the failure is termed as an abort. Job aborted means it got failed. The terms which we use in data stage. Instead of run or execute the job, trigger the job, all meaning that you just need to run the job. Aborted, job failure, all or nothing but the job got some interruption where it cannot able to complete it successfully. So I wanted to know the log of the file. What does the log shows? When the job started, when it got entered, whether all the process executed successfully or not. If suppose something got failed in between, I wanted to know why this job got failed. That why will be answered in the log. So to view the log, to monitor the job. Monitor means the job is in running mode. Suppose I ran the job is in running mode. I can view how the job is running. That is nothing but monitoring the job. Okay. To run the job. To run the job, director is used. To monitor the job, director is used. To view the job log, we can use director. And to schedule a job. Scheduling is nothing but on daily basis, my job should get triggered at 2 a.m. Daily 2 a.m. I need not to present in front of system to click on the run button. Instead, I will set that this job should get triggered every day at 2 a.m. So what happens when your system time reaches 2 a.m., it automatically runs. That is what scheduling. You can schedule each and every individual piece of a job at what time, on what day it needs to be triggered. It can be weekly run, it can be daily run, it can be hourly run. Anytime, anything, you can able to fix the timing so that when that particular time reaches, it automatically runs. It will not wait for you to manually clicking on the run button. Automating process. Okay. So what are the three different client components here? Administrator, designer, and director. Designer and director are widely used by the developers. Administrator in some cases we will use, but not with all the cases, whereas this administrator is mostly used by data stage admin. But we do have some functionalities to work in admin, which is nothing but setting the properties of a project. At project level, we may set some of the properties. For that, we will use this administrator tool. Okay. So I'll repeat it. There are three different client components: administrator, designer, and director. Administrator is used to create a project, create a user, assign project properties, assign user properties, and delete the project. Designer is used to design and to develop the job, to save the job, to compile a job, to run the job, and to set project properties, import and export the job. Director is used to run the job, to monitor the job, to view the job log, and to schedule the job. Okay. These are the client components. You forget about the server component. We are not going to work on it. That is the back end of this client component. When you do something in your client component, that will send request to the back end. There it will get executed, and again response will be received in the client component because they are interlinked. Okay. I think we'll stop here because the other topic will take some time. So you know what is a data stage, just a slight background of it, and then followed by data stage client components. Tomorrow I'll practically show you how the data stage look like, what are the different client components. The topic what we have seen, right? I'll explain you by using a tool.
Okay, Rekha.
Okay. Thank you, Visha. Also, we'll discuss on the CV part.
Okay, sure, Rekha. Okay,
Thank you.
then. Thank you so much, Rekha. Yeah,
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.